What's up, Nitwits? Damo99 here as always, and with me, Game Over Joey.
Hey everyone.
And we are here to talk about the newest, latest, greatest wannabe Skyrim New World.
Should you just call it wannabe Skyrim?
Yeah, yeah.
That's an interesting choice for a description.
I mean, let's be honest. New World had a lot of hype. I think a lot of people were wondering about it. What was Amazon finally gonna do? How are they gonna do it? And we got 6-hour wait times.
My gosh, we're starting with that. That works for me. So yeah, 6 hours. Hey, we couldn't get in. I mean,
No.
the first day we logged in, what was we were like 17,000 in queue, something like that.
Yep.
It,
And that
it
was at like 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I know. It was insane. It was insane. Yeah, I, I I'm very disappointed about that. It's 2021. These server issues should be fixed.
From the largest company in the world. One of the large
They
companies in the world.
literally have the biggest server farm, and they couldn't get their. Oh, we were anticipating this big dude. The hype on this game has been out there for a long time. The game has been postponed. You have seen the internet rage about the game being postponed. The hype on this game was unreal. You have advertised this game like no tomorrow. You knew the population was going to be large. So why didn't you have that server capacity that you knew you needed? That is frustrating. But I personally am not going to knock them too hard for that, because there's never been I've never played an MMO that didn't have that. WoW had it, ESO had it, Final Fantasy 14 and Realm Reborn had it. So whatever, it was there. It was probably the worst I've seen. But what I will say is it's been corrected because players are quitting. So we don't have to worry about that too much.
Hey, you know what? That's one way to get it fixed.
Hey, absolutely, absolutely.
But no, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, as much crap as I want to give it, just to be like, why do we have to wait all this time and everything? I've truly really enjoyed this game. It has its flaws, but overall, I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do like the game. We put in about 30 hours, and that's it. I know it's not a drastic amount for an MMO. So, I mean, we're probably not the most experienced to some extent. But what I do want to say is I do feel like the gameplay is pretty smooth. I like the combat for the swords, the spears, the axes, the hammers. The bows feel good. The muskets feel good. Muskets are a little OP, but still feels good. I do not like the magic system. I think the magic system is just absolutely trash. I think it needs a complete rehaul. Now, the graphics, I think we can both agree. It's stunning. It is an absolutely stunning looking game. I truly, that's the most... If you said, Joe, what do you enjoy most about the game? It's definitely the gathering, so cutting down trees, collecting plants, and crafting. Following that, exploring the world. If you said, Joe, what do you hate most about the game? I would simply say no mounts. I hate walking. It's a walking simulator.
Yeah. To touch back though on the only 30 hours in it, I think we really enjoyed this game. We played it enough to get a feel for it, but the bricking of the GPUs is what kind of has put a damper on it. Let's word it like that.
Yeah.
And until they start getting a little more patched down, and I know some people are like, is it? So we kind of just put a hold on it for a little bit. We're letting it catch up to itself. I feel we're letting it get its legs back under. But definitely can't wait. I agree 100% with most of the things you said. The magic system is terrible. In fact, I only used it like once or twice. I was like, this is dumb. So I switched away from it. I think just the simple shield and sword, great. This game nailed so many different weapons, so many different things perfectly. Different classes. I think the multiplayer system to like dungeons and things like that is absolute trash. just to be honest.
Yes.
So I think it has little things that need touch, but the actual elements of like farming or chopping down trees, whatever you want to call that system, the actual grind part of like the little things. It's pretty great, and it's smooth. I like you can buy houses in the town and people can see it, or different things like that. So I think it has a lot of good elements, but unfortunately, there are a lot of core elements of New World that's going to need worked on in time and time, and the player count's dropping dramatically. So I don't know if people will give it that, but yet again, we bring it up every time there's a game like this. It's not to the point of No Man's Sky where it's like, this game's trash, it's unplayable. But I feel there's going to be a lot of money put into this to keep it going and keep improving.
Yeah, and you're totally right. They're going to fix these issues. They're going to. There's no way they're not. One of my favorite MMOs, I know a lot of people are going to give me some gripe for this, is ESO. And, we talked about this many of times, Dom, where ESO didn't have the greatest launch. But ESO is one of the top 3 MMOs right now because they fixed the problems, and the expansion packs that they've added, the content, it's absolutely amazing. The game feels good, the combat system feels good, the game looks good. I mean, it doesn't look like New World, but it looks good. So I gotta say, overall, I am enjoying the game. It is very satisfying. I think it's very fun, and it's beautiful, right? I mean, I still stop and just look around. I do want to bring up a huge issue, though, is the swimming. You don't swim in this. You walk underneath the water, and you come out like the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Exactly. You become Captain Barbosa.
Yeah, and the problem with that, though, is if you want to walk across a large body of water, go across a large body of water, you have to run around it, versus where you can typically swim. The problem I have with that is if you want to try to walk through it, you're going to die, run out of air. That needs to be corrected. Now, I'm not entirely sure what Amazon was thinking. I mean, really, it's like GTA 3, man. You remember in GTA 3, GTA Vice City, you couldn't swim. You jumped in the water, you died. Like, that's in essence what they're doing here, and I hate that. That needs to be fixed. They need to add mounts, and I'm going to keep saying that throughout this video because mounts are so important. Mounts literally are crucial to getting to point A to point B. The walking is extremely frustrating because it takes forever. And now, I know there's fast travel, but you can't fast travel everywhere. You literally have to mark a point, and the fast travel, in my opinion, is completely trash.
Yeah, as I say, the fast travel is actually terrible.
Yep.
In this game. And the other thing too, like just the whole mount argument. The one thing I don't understand of why there are no mounts, it's the easiest cash grab. My God, you could have me ride a bear, a unicorn. What do you want to buy? Charge me like $20. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll take that bear. Give me a polar bear.
That's what ESO did. ESO gave obviously horses and a few other mounts for free, but that you could unlock over time. But then you can buy these amazing looking mounts. I mean, like these massive, I don't know, some big ass mooses with some beautiful looking horns. I don't know what they are, but
they don't need a dragon to fly on. Like just something basic.
Yeah, we're not asking for flying mounts. I don't know how that would work in this game anyway. But I do think the fast travel needs to be improved, and we need to add horses at least, at minimum. I do also think that the enemies need to be more diverse. I'm sick of fighting the same things over and over again, and I understand we haven't done everything, but we've done enough to get a general idea what the enemy fight base is going to look like, and I do have a problem with that, and I do feel like they need to work on adding more enemies in general. But going back to the mount thing, just because that's been a huge thing what we've been talking about, and a lot of people feel the same way. Let's say there's a quest on the other side of the map, okay? And this has been a common thing that we've run into with New World, with quests that we're picking up. It literally can take you 15-20 minutes to get there. And that's not just because of the walking, but it could take 25-30 minutes if you're running into enemies.
Yeah. Well, and that's to say, too, like, if you ever go off the trail, the path, or whatever, you can easily find yourself, like, stuck behind a mountain. So you either have to walk completely all the way around it and go way out of your way again, or backtrack and get back to, like, the main road. Yeah. So it's, like, hard to, like, get off an adventure as well.
Yeah, and, there's a few other things that the game needs to definitely add over time. Number one, there's no world enemies. And what I mean by that, because a lot of people may not get that, But a lot of MMOs add where random bosses spawn in and you can fight. And I do know they have those little areas that are need to be contained.
Corruption zone.
Yeah, corruption zones. But that's not the same thing. That's not what I'm speaking of. No raids. That's kind of a bummer. A raid is a huge part of an MMO, and that's what their MMOs are known for. I also want to go ahead.
That's when you kind of get to flex, though.
What do you mean?
Like that's when you get to show off raids. Like that's the bragging point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Destiny too, like or Destiny in general. Like you complete a raid, like it's like yeah, we pulled that off, but like we did that,
Yeah, and I think that the raids are so important in MMOs, and all the huge community that plays MMOs on PC is known for, right? We want raids. We want raids in the game, and I know we have dungeons, but we really need raids. We want more complex fights. We want bigger fights. We want better fights. And then last, this is just a really small thing, or two. Well, one small thing, one's a huge thing. I don't like the fact that there's no way to search for a group. You're kind of standing outside of a dungeon. To your point, Dom, dungeons are kind of crappy. But you're randomly inviting people to your group to see if they're willing to go through the dungeon with you. And the problem we ran into, people joined, and they would quit in the middle of the dungeon, or just joined and never went to the door. And I think that is a huge opportunity for this game. And last but not least, this is a small thing, but it's important to me because I love customization for characters. Character customization is very lack in the game, and the fact that there's no races kind of bothers me. I understand the time era that we're in, but the fact that we are fighting these mythological creatures and so forth, I would love to see like elves or something along those lines. I know it's something small, but I would love to see that within this game. I do think that was a hard miss on their part. So overall, I really am enjoying the game. I like it. I'm gonna put a score on it. I know this wasn't. I know we're not a ton of time into it again. I know 30 hours is not a ton for MMO, but we're gonna go back and revisit it and continue playing it because we do want to hit max level. But I personally would give it a 6.
Yeah.
I think 6 is more than fair with the amount of problems that the game has had. We can go ahead and throw the queue out the window. Forget the queue was ever discussed. Even with the queue, let's say it was not an issue, it's still 6 for me. There's too many things that need to be changed and revamped. And I know the devs are hard at work at Amazon Studios. They're really focusing on these changes. And I hope a lot of these things do get added by, not just our voices, but your voices and everyone's voices. Because it's not just a few people ranting about this. There's a lot of us, right? So I hope that they're listening to their community and they really do fix these problems.
I mean, let's be honest. It's kind of it has a core MMORPG. The baseline MMORPG stuff, it does. So it has just the everyday stuff. So it makes it a fine game, but it's not polished enough. It's not different enough to make you continue playing it right now, or go away from one of your other cores. And I think it's kind of like the thing of where we talk about battle royales. Bob is sick of battle royales. He wants nothing to do with them anymore because they're all the same thing. They all got beaten over the head. And I feel some people feel the same way, so they go back to whichever battle royale they liked. So I feel MMORPGs, like, if I'm going to put hundreds of hours into a game, to switch from that game, I better be wowed instantly.
Yeah.
Like, I better be just blown away, or my friend better be sitting there nonstop talking up this game. And although I really have enjoyed it, I would say 6 out of 10 is fair rating.
Yeah.
Some aspects, I could drop it lower, I could raise it higher. But I think to go away from one of the other cores, because MMORPGs are, certain people play that, not everybody plays it, because some people hate grinding. Some people would rather just, pay for one thing, have it, and that's the best weapon in the game, knowing it can never get, changed, da-da-da-da. But I think that's part of, like, the weird thing is if you compare it up to the other MMORPGs, it never stands a chance right now. And it's in its infant stages, it's its first big run, but man, like, it's not the game, or not the type of game where you want to have these mistakes, I feel. Especially the breaking of the GPUs. Like, there's one thing, being new to PC community, like, that right there turned off so many people instantly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was just a joke. Hmm.
Yeah, man. And this was happening during the beta, and Amazon Studios said it wasn't their fault. Then they went in and fixed something and said that it shouldn't happen anymore. So they admitted fault by not admitting fault, right?
Yeah.
And they also EVGA and a few other companies came out and said, yeah, we're aware of the problem. That some of it is the actual GPU's fault, though. It's not solely New World, but New World is basically pushing the GPU to its limits, and the GPUs, from my understanding, and maybe I'm not explaining this super correctly, and if you do know a little bit more about it and you watch our video, you can add it into the comments. But from my understanding, from the videos that I've watched and also read some articles, they're stating that it's overworking the GPU, pushing it to its max, having it run at 100% for a longer period of time, causing the GPU to overheat and, more or less catch on, not necessarily catch on fire, but smoke, get overheated, etc. So that's disappointing because think about it. Not many games you don't hear games about that very often, right? That happening with a game. I've really never heard about it at all until New World. So I do think they're really pushing your hardware to its limits, and I do think they need to fix that with polishing the game, right? Because when you have a game that's not optimized to its full potential, that's when these problems arise. And again, this is not necessarily a new issue with a game. I mean, look at consoles. Consoles did it all the time when they were being pushed to the limits. I mean, Maneater did that to the PlayStation 4. So it is something that needs to be addressed, and if they don't address it, it's just going to hurt their population more. And I get this mainly the higher end cards, but we both have that, so that's the problem. We do have higher end cards, and we really don't want to take a chance on frying them. I do know we can watch our temperatures and so forth, and keep watching, and we can probably even lower some of the settings, but ultimately you kind of want that full experience when you're playing in a game that you paid for. But yeah, I'm disappointed in that aspect. But a 6 out of 10, I think, is a solid score. I think the game is really fun. I enjoy it, and I do plan on playing more and getting back into it. I'm not putting it down. To be honest with you, I keep thinking about fishing. So
That's the thing is, like, I think instead of playing the actual core game, I've enjoyed fishing and cutting down trees and selling it all and making the money and having the little market. Like, I've really, really enjoyed that aspect of it.
yeah, I think it's the best part so far for me. And I also want to add one thing, just in case if somebody is watching this and they're like, they're on the fence of getting into New World. I like the fact that there's no class system, and I say that because you can choose any weapon and level that weapon up and use it at any point. So if you want to use sword and shield, or you want to use magic and sword, or magic and a bow, I don't know why you would, but you can. You can level up every one of those weapons and become good at it, and get better and better over time. There's no limitation, and I freaking love that. I think that, and the fact that you can actually reset your skill, I don't want to say skill tree, but I'm going to call it skill tree down. I love that about it. So there are some really, really, really cool ideas within this game. Last but not least, I do think this game in the future is going to end up like Elder Scrolls ESO. It could end up being a top, I'd say 5 MMO, because I think ESO, Final Fantasy XIV, Realm Reborn, and World of Warcraft are going to hold those core 3 spots. But there's one big contender coming out next year that I think is going to destroy every MMO out. And mark this, I guarantee this. Ashes of Creation is literally the biggest MMO that has ever been developed ever in history, bigger than WoW. And a lot of the people that worked on the WoW game worked on Final Fantasy XIV and Realm Reborn, and some of the smaller games like Terra and so forth are with that same studio creating Ashes of Creation. So that game comes out next year, and I think that's going to be the game everyone goes to. I mean, it raids, MMOs, core elements, races. They're going to have a lot of those traditional factors with new systems, and I'm really excited to see how that goes. I'm a backer of that game. I played the beta. It was beautiful. Obviously, the beta, or I guess it was more of a technical test, had some problems, but overall, I'm super excited for it. Dom, I have to send you some videos on it. I think we might have talked about it here a few times, but
We have, yeah.
I think it's going to be the next big MMO, and I think it's going to be bigger than WoW, even at WoW's at its core.
You know, I'm upset that you didn't let me go. Nostradamus, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Hey, better late than never, right?
I mean, you've caught a couple big things, so far so good.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where I stand. I'm really excited for Ashes of Creation. I'm really excited to see where this game goes when it comes out. But overall, like I said, I really, really, really am really geeked to see where we currently see where New World will be in the next 6 months, and I do think that it's going to be an overall great MMO. I think we'll revisit this and say our 6 was fair. We're going to end up giving it a higher score. I guarantee it. But that's it for me.
I'm surprised you didn't mention anything about Elden Ring, because anytime we get a chance, I feel like you mention it. That was why I was waiting for you to. Yeah, just to give a plug into it, because you love that game. Like, you have a lot of high hopes for that as well. So,
it's because it's from Software.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of From Software, and I think it's a top tier studio. I don't think it's the top tier studio, but I do think it's up there as one of the greats. Their games come out and they're flawless, man. Like their games are so good. Dark Souls, Demon Souls, they're so fantastic. But yeah, Elden Ring, man. February, I'm looking forward to it. Then you got Horizon Zero Dawn next year. Hogwarts Legacy, probably one of my most anticipated games of ever. I'm so excited for next year.
Hey. Save it all for the next podcast, all right? We had Sorry this year. We had what was coming. We were excited for this year. A disappointing year of delays again, but we're turning that corner. I think the gaming industry is kicking back up, and things are actually coming out. I think this year, in general, just for New World's sake, with Halo Infinite not going to be on the Game of the Year, New World stands a dark horse's shot. I would still say Back for Blood, which I think will end up being Game of the Year, because Pokemon Snap can't win it, and they won't give it to Mass Effect, the remastered. So I think New World stands a chance this year, but let's be honest, it has its bugs, but it's a lot of fun. So
whoa! Did you say New World will be Game of the Year?
No. It has a chance. It's a dark horse. It's a weak year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This year's weak in general.
But you're forgetting a core game, and everyone's doing this, not just you. But you have Resident Evil Village, and
love Resident Evil Village.
I loved is an understatement. It was a phenomenal game, and I know it's only a 10-hour campaign, and I played it on the hardest difficulty and beat it, and it took me about 12, 13 hours, and it was just so good. And what I will say is New World may be a contender, but I do think it's going to fall to Resident Evil Village because it's so different. It really is. And I know you have some other games, like you have Far Cry 6, Back for Blood. Back for Blood, phenomenal game, right? I would be okay if it won Game of the Year, but let's be realistic. It's Game of the Year focuses on what did they do different and how good was that game overall, right? And there's nothing different about Back for Blood. As much as we love that game, it's just there's no way. Deathloop has a major potential winning Game of the Year. I personally will be disappointed if it wins. I know it reviewed well. It's just not a game for me. But I do think that could end up winning overall. But I do think it's going to come down to Deathloop, Resident Evil Village. Oh man, Ratchet and Clank actually would fall on this year too. That's actually reviewed extremely well too. That's new. That is a completely new, different game in regards to mechanics. Battlefield 2042 is very unique this time around. Could fall there, but if I had to make a guess, it's Ratchet and Clank versus Deathloop will be the final two. Resident Evil could make it the 3. I'm gonna give it probably to Ratchet and Clank actually, or Deathloop. Thinking about it, leaning more towards Deathloop. Unfortunate, but I do think that's what's gonna happen. I know this isn't what the podcast is about, but I think it's a good thing to add to the podcast because New World had a lot of hype, and New World could have stole the show this year. It's a weak year.
Like, there's a lot of just solid games. There's a lot of games that have been done before. A lot of like touch ups of different games. But this year, you had a great chance this year, especially for an indie company, like just to steal the show. And unfortunately, things got delayed. Even like Pokemon, like I feel Pokemon Arceus, whatever it is, the one coming next year again. So like next year we're gonna have a stacked house again. Like we're getting back to like how it was when God of War won, where it was like,
yeah.
ooh, God of War, Red Dead 2, like which Red Dead 2 still should have won, but
I agree.
I digress. But I think it's a lot of things to think about, and I think it's a good thing to add because as great of a game and as much fun as it is to play New World, it really missed in a lot of, man, like it could have been something to take us to that next level this year, like to hold us off until basically Halo comes out or Back 4 Blood comes out, you know.
Yeah, you're 100% right, man. And I think a lot of people need to. This is a mediocre year. There's some really great games. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to playing Far Cry. Back 4 Blood was fantastic. New World was pretty good. But next year is going to be a big year, especially for us as a channel. I think, we have Elden Ring coming out next year. Dying Light 2 Stay Human, which is Dying Light, phenomenal game if you've never played it. Destiny 2, The Witch Queen. I don't know if that would really count, but in itself, it's still a big game for next year. Saints Row redone. That's huge. Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West. Tina's Wonderland. Tiny, depending on how everyone say it. I will say this. I'm so excited to play that on March 25th. That is a game I'm super geeked for. Stay tuned for that one. Stalker 2. Stalker 1 was a beloved game by millions of people and was reviewed extremely well. Comes out next year. But everyone's going to forget about this. We obviously have Hogwarts Legacy, which I'm super amped for. But the bigger game, in most people's eyes, is going to be Starfield by Bethesda. That is a game that you cannot underestimate because of who's developing it. And think about it. Fallout has won Game of the Year multiple times. Elder Scrolls has won. So Skyrim won back in 2011. So I'm just saying that since that game is dropping next year, it's going to give a lot of these games a run for the money. And then you also have God of War Ragnarok. And it's going to be a really amazing next year. I mean, to say the least, I'm excited for next year. I can't wait until we end up December of next year with all these games out. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I'm going to be stressed figuring out what I want to play.
Well, I think the beauty too is as of right now, there's a lot of games we don't know how it's dropping or when it's dropping. The games are spread out nicely. So I would say that's one advantage right now.
We don't know that though because.
Well, no, I'm saying what's set right now.
Oh,
like what's on
the. Yes.
Yeah. So as we're looking at right now, there's a lot of games that are set for good time spacement.
Yeah.
So we got a chance. Nitwits, stay with us. Everything should space out nicely for us to work out. But I think next year, it's going to be a bigger year again. But I think too is New World is going to definitely get a lot of upgrades, and you're going to want to steal your time away from these type of games too coming out. So going back to what I touched on earlier of saying like, man, there's a lot to compete with in the MMORPG world. You're also competing a lot with these games now too. By the time you get New World up to where the standard it should be, you're going to lose all those gamers that are just touching in just to see what New World's about to all these games.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a good point. I think New World is definitely going to be a lot better of a game next year, but I still, like I said, I am a huge, huge fan of ESO. And until they adopt some of those core mechanics ESO has, or most MMOs in general, I think they're going to be held back. But I do think they're going to do it. I think they're going to listen to us because I think it'd be wise of them.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon wants to have a big market in the gaming studio or gaming world. I feel wants to be a big studio, so it's going to listen for now and take notes and keep improving.
Absolutely.
But hey, Nitwits, as always, like, subscribe, tell us we're pretty, whatever you want to do. I don't care. Tell us to go eat donuts.
I'm on keto.
Oh my gosh, whatever. Tell us to go, eat a pineapple or whatever Joe can eat now. All right.
Either, sorry.
Oh my gosh. Tell Joe to go eat a keto I don't know, potato chip. All right, Nitwits. Stay classy. Thanks as always.
Yeah, peace, love, and chicken grease.